All praises to Lord Inky, if I was somebody who believed in this in the Anunnaki story. But you ask a very valid question. Why is it so easy for me to believe in the Anunnaki thing and all the stories than to believe in the Bible? The first part of your question is a little bit off in understanding that when I explain anything concerning how the Sumerian story was told, was written down prior to an Israelite ever being acknowledged or existing, and prior to the biblical stories ever being told in the Israelite format, the fact that you said believe in is the first issue. I don't believe in them as if they actually happen. Do I believe that Enki, Enlil, and Harsak, Anu, all those beings existed and did the things that the Sumerians are claiming that they did? No, it's not I don't believe in that, because the problem is it is lacking facts to some of the more miraculous things. When Dumuzi died under a waterfall, was he resuscitated and reincarnated back to life? I don't necessarily believe that, because there's no proof that Dumuzi was brought back from the dead, or that Ilnana, in her sorrow, her grief, went down to hell and existed there for 3 days, and then Ilnana came back. Am I accepting of that as a belief that that actually happened? No. Is it possible that there were previous civilization that existed prior to the Younger Dryas Ice Age and the Ice Age, the last Ice Age and the Younger Dryas flood? Yes, there is sufficient evidence to extrapolate that there more than likely was intelligent life, civilization on Earth prior to that time frame. We have evidence of that. We're finding more and more as underwater archaeologists discover more and more sunken cities and temples and things of that nature, whether it is the Lemurians, the Atlanteans, or the people of Mu. We are finding that. And then when we see how the Sumerians just burst on the scene with technology and advancements that we didn't know about, that seemed to just came onto the scene, and then they just had this stair-step growth, it shows, and that is more of an indication of, here's the people who were living primitively, but then someone of a more intelligent society came in and then jump-started their society at a faster rate than a natural growth of innovation and invention. It would be the same way that, let's say, some aliens, if you go to Sedona, a friend of mine went to Sedona, and he was telling me that while he was in Sedona, the tour guide was saying how there's an alien battle that's raging right now. And the ones who are winning are the ones who like us. They enjoy humans. They are friends to humans. And that when they win, they will introduce med beds. Now, if you've ever seen the movie Elysium, the advent of med beds would be such a huge advancement in human civilization that it would have to come about because somebody else who was already thousands of years ahead of us just introduced this technology. And a med bed is basically, in the movie Elysium, you lie in it and it fixes everything, regenerates your whole body, all the cancer gone, the arthritis gone, anything that ails you gone, your body's like back to like 30 years old kind of situation. That's what we see with the Sumerians and the Kemetic people with agriculture and other inventions and irrigation and things like that, where it's just popped onto the scene. So that evidence would suggest somebody came and showed them, and plus then their stories back that up. Now, as far as more of the biblical stories, the reason why they're not acceptable is because they are plagiarized versions told from a Israelite or Hebrew point of view, not a story that they created themselves from scratch. The Sumerians are the earliest story that we have from that. Now, as we discover more things about Taran Tepe and Gobekli Tepe, then even the ideas of the Sumerians being that first civilization, well, the idea of the Sumerians being the earliest known civilization has already been scratched. We know that the Göbekli Tepe and Taran Tepe is older than the Sumerians, so we can't even say the Sumerians were the first civilization at the level that we call civilization, because it's already changed. When we look at the Mesopotamia being the cradle of civilization, now that idea is done with. It's not there anymore. Plus, we already know that there were civilizations older than the Mesopotamians. That is just what Western culture, Western in teaching has taught us. But since Göbekli Tepe and Taran Tepe is up in Turkey, which is outside, very much outside of the Mesopotamian area, so now we must say that the first civilizations known to us right now with hard proof would be up in Turkey, not in Mesopotamia. And Mesopotamia is the area between the two rivers of the Tigris and the Euphrates. And the Euphrates, although the Euphrates goes up into Turkey, the Tigris does not. So it's sitting in between, and it's more that lower Levant region that most of this, that you would say is Mesopotamia. So the biblical Genesis stories, for the most part, and as we go through some of the other stories and laws and rules, seem to come from and identify that they come from other cultures, whether they were copies of the Hammurabi Code, copies from the Babylonians, the Akkadians, rearranging their stories to fit the narrative of creating a history for the Hebrew people. So that is why those writings are unacceptable. And then when we look at the New Testament, we see that there are other literary works of art that were already in place, whether it was a work of art or a religion. So therefore, it doesn't validate itself as the original or the oldest or something that came first. So that is the reason why when we look at things archaeologically and historically, it is just looking for evidence and not looking for beliefs. And that's why the basis of your question is a little bit off, because I don't do beliefs. I do what I know. Everything else is speculation. Everything else is without facts. And as long as it's without any facts, then I don't accept it as something that happened in reality. So there must be some type of evidence, and evidence is very difficult to find. And because things get buried and things get washed away and things get destroyed by conquering civilizations. And so we have very little evidence to speak of most things in history. We probably have unearthed less than 1% of the true history of anything that happened that is over, say, about 1,000 years ago. Everything else, there's very little history. So y'all have a great day. Remember always, you got to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.